Вывел царапину лучше.
Принтскрин сделай. Принтскрин так и сейчас.
Сделайте большой экран на 30 раз в секунду.
Вот, нормально. Нет, не скопируй. Окей, тогда надо все.
Ты по фану 14 финал долотнул?
9-ю.
Windows Shift S нажмите просто.
Не это.
Что это такое? Это quick screenshot.
Вот, все нормально. Так. Все равно это кринж. Окей, guys. Бам. Бам, бам. So guys, where is safe and network?
Me? Well, you probably won't. Probably.
They were here. And now they're not.
Because I remember you have, let's say, praying event on Friday for Muslims. Start 12 till 1 p.m.
What?
Muslims used to go to the, how to say, yes, and pray, and usually they start at 12.
Tuesday, so.
Yeah, I mean that. Okay. Because Henny and others were late because of this, and it's the reason why I know it. So today is plain motion, except some questions. All the citations. Okay. So you have some actually to what the heck, why we are doing this? If you say that we are just repeating physics, no problem, but you didn't explain it. It's just citation from one of you. Okay, so anonymous guy, don't worry. Okay, so also you find some mistakes in Molodetov slides, and actually it was borrowed from by me too, so I will fix it. So I'm answering on this question. Actually, as I told you, so one of the benefits that now we are coding all the stuff. It helps you to understand what's going on, and later you can use it in control and other stuff. Second one, for instance, falling bar. I hope you remember how this looks like. That's falling bar. I showed. And it can be suspension on the car. And for instance, we are finding positions, as you remember. So if we are finding kinematics, we have, for instance, point C in some middle, this link, and we can work with it. So actually, we can try to optimize the trajectory. For instance, for suspension, if I'm not mistaken, it shouldn't be very, let's see, wide. So this is bad, this is good. Second example is Molodetov's PhD work. So actually, who have been in Volgograd?
Oh no.
Okay, so
I haven't been, but Molodetov and Volgograd is like a half of my internship.
okay. Yeah. She told me that he thought that he will be more active there in his class, and in his internship too. Yes. Okay. After this. So actually, in Volgograd, during USSR, they make a lot of robots like this, and I ride on one of them. So actually, I have photos, and if you want, I can show it. Actually, it works right now, and it's not bad. And for this purpose, so they have some kind of mechanism. Yes. Volgograd dynamics, you know. Volgograd dynamics. Okay. No. You need to sit on the, on the chair like this. Okay, and you can optimize on the Yeah, do you remember the video from, you haven't been on the last class, okay.
У него поддержка.
You explain him right position, yeah. Return to initial position, yes. Okay, and we can optimize on trajectories. So actually, when you can, if you know kinematics and this stuff, you can solve some optimization tasks with the prerequisite for this. Even first home task actually is optimization task itself. So you will try to solve some task like this. So I mean, I call it research tasks. What else?
Check the block.
What again?
Графики check the block.
This one? Actually, could you say in English because Mirna cannot understand.
What are these shapes on the ground?
It's let's say how the leg moves, so it's profile of the leg according so x-axis and the axis. So we took, for instance, we have
For which point?
this point,
Ah.
the center of the leg, and like this,
And this one.
and this one second leg.
Ah.
So. So it's one of possible ways why do you need it. Actually, I use it for my robot because when I needed to calculate kinematics for control and some kind of dynamics, you need to know how to do all this stuff.
В смысле second leg? Это она что, в воздухе?
I didn't get you.
The shapes of trajectories.
Yes,
of
now I
points.
understood you. Okay, the goal is that do you know the Chebyshev mechanism?
No.
Who knows?
Чебышев.
Okay.
Some strange language.
Wow.
Not yet. It's only one part of the mechanism. I hope so.
Star Wars.
Actually, on the next semester on mechanics and machines, some of the students did this. Not this mechanics because it's too easy and you can find a lot of information. But in general, you can do either discrete. One of the Dani Burakov made discrete Fourier transform, mechanical Fourier. So actually, you can calculate such kind of stuff already. Roads. It's called in Russian "stopokhody", in English "stepper". Stepper. I don't know how to do it. Okay. So let's return to this. Okay. Now we are going to the quiz. One class. Okay, I think let's start and 13 and finish at 3. Again, I remind you, you need to highlight the answer. Or answers in our case because we have velocity, blah 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 blah. We solved some kind of task on the previous class. And your thoughts for home tasks were about look like this. And again, when we're talking about velocity, acceleration, we're talking not about magnitude, but also about direction. Don't forget to draw it.
Block goes from top to the down, right? S is not marked.
S is positive. X, C on X. Again, I didn't put any numbers because you just need to write equation.
You can use cheat sheet.
Yes. Not laptop, but in your. Small R2, big R2 capital. Small R3, capital R3. And first word. It's for the last row, who cannot see.
So just formulas, no calculations? Without derivatives or something?
So, for x, probably you can take derivative, because that's full commutation.
I mean, can we leave formulas without expressing by t?
Please, you need to find t probably, yeah? Actually, when you're coding, you don't need to know numbers. You're not used to use it. You have just, in the beginning, you have some, A equal to something, B equal to something, and so on. So, the same. It's variables, and you can change it every time. минус А.
А предыдущий квиз можно посмотреть? Или я еще не проверили?
Я уже сам
Уже
не
стыдно.
знаю. Я не знаю. Как деревья безводно убиваем.
Надо будет выучить.
Какие смысл это переработать?
Нам нужно найти просто в векторной форме.
Если он играть, это точно что-то кому. Минуса.
А, нужно это через S выразить все?
Один бит. Speaking too much in Russian.
Окей, сори.
Time's up. By the way, Mirna and Anton, yeah. Stepan. Wait, who is Anton? Okay. You both have the high score from previous quiz. Yes. Average number is 1 out of 2. You need to know. Some you have extra score because you have. Did you read it? The comment, okay. So. About the task. Actually, the first problem, as for me, it was that you need to find time from S and X to T. Because without it, you cannot solve the task itself. How can you do it? You want the tricky moment there.
Well, we know how x changes.
Yes.
So we say x is equal to s and define t from there.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just thought you just take x out of x from t final minus x0.
Yes, it's correct, because in this case you will lose 2. Because we have 2 plus. You have 2 plus 7? Yeah. C squared. And when we want to find S, will be x from 0, I mean, plus x from tau. In this case, we can find tau. And otherwise, we will lose, because in this case, it won't be 0, it will be 2.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Didn't read it correctly. Travels.
So travels distance t, it's okay.
My-
Because
my-
you started from
my
0.
whole solution
Actually,
has-
you
has
can
minus
get
0.
it if you look at this stuff, and you can see this is not in, how to say, it's middle position stuff like this.
I'm sorry, is it the correct formula? Because if tau is also 0, we're gonna get 4, which is weird.
4.
We didn't travel anywhere, but we got
Why?
4.
Minus 2 plus 2.
Oh, minus. Okay.
Minus, yes, because I forgot it and
Okay,
I put
okay.
it here,
Yeah. Yeah, now I see minus.
Okay.
That's good.
No problem, yes. And distance is always positive, because it's absolute error.
What is distance? When here? Coordinate of x or no?
So,
Travels.
so it's like a common classical task when you throw something like this, you need to find S, so the distance where how it flies. I mean, so
You go from-
I go 20 kilometers. It's distance. You don't know direction, you just know the magnitude.
You go from 5 to 25, that's 20 distance. And I forgot the 2 doesn't count as distance.
Originally in original task there are no 2, but I especially put it because I like to check here that you're.
I didn't read it correctly.
Shit happens, you know.
I just thought S is just X, that's it. And I
Okay, don't worry, just to see. Again, you won't lose million points out because of this. At max, if you solve anything else correctly, it will be 1.8 or even 1.9. My goal not to drop you, as I told you before. So actually after this, okay, who can see me the algorithm, how to solve this?
Like since we know the displacement of the block, we can find its velocity. Then we know velocity of block. We know velocity of like inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
Then we find angular velocity. It's the same as angular velocity of inner of like outside circle. So we find the velocity, linear velocity of it, and then go to another circle,
use the same thing.
like chain.
Yeah, that's all. And that's for velocities. And then once you find the velocity, we need to find the same thing with acceleration. And then normal is just velocity squared over radius.
It's the reason why so I hope you draw it correctly, because omega there, cross. Actually, even belts can be done like this. It's not the magic. Actually, some belts use this, let's say, connection type, yes, in cars. So when expansion, velocity, normal.
But as far as this way, we're gonna get the magnitude of the velocity of forehand, right? But
Yes.
not the direction.
We cannot know the direction because we
Well,
weren't
you
given
get the
any
direction probably
angles.
from the logical blocks we use there. Use the belts to determine the direction of velocity of point M. Just probably common sense. Probably.
Okay, so before this, I'd like that it seems that some of you, it looks like this, that your thinking could be not wrong, but not very effective when you're facing with a task. You are trying to solve it in not correct way. In terms of, say, I don't know if it's wrong, but let's discuss this one. Okay, for instance, could you just explain from you start to now you see the task. Explain how you will think. What are you doing firstly, secondly, and so on. So you look at that. What else? What are you doing now?
First, I can read the task.
Okay. Did you try to find some words? Probably. Do you have some keywords there? What's help you to solve this task? So how are you working with this task?
Try to mark what we know.
Okay, no. Where is
For
it?
example, here we know radius r slow.
This and this.
Yes, it's the same. That it rotates around whole axis by some law that we also know. And we know angular velocity and magnitude. Right? No, we need to determine it. Find it.
You read the task. What are you doing now? So what's your way of thinking?
I start from what we know. We know that small shaft rotates by some law 2t.
Let's. Can you go to the whiteboard and try to solve it and explain each your step, even like thinking all this stuff, because it's quite important.
История задает, но там барфи, они такая как условия.
So you're drawing the picture.
Yes, wherever
Okay.
it works. It's the only angle in the whole thing, so you know.
Why are you drawing the picture?
For me, it's easier to see the whole system.
Okay.
And also, I can mark some velocities, acceleration.
So you said you understood what you have. Did you write it or just take it into account? And look at it?
Here.
Okay, so what are you doing next?
So, since we know p, we can find angular velocity of the shaft, angular acceleration, and even the velocity of point B. Is it rotating?
Why are you started from this?
Because it's our know that law of rotation about this shaft.
How can you, let me say, summarize why did you start from this. You understand? Because actually it's not your first task, of course. You solved the quiz and blah blah blah. Why did you decide to start from velocities and accelerations?
Try to find everything I can, I guess. So I know the P and
What do you want to say?
Because we need to find the velocities and accelerations. So work with velocities and accelerations. No, we actually don't need to find the acceleration. We only need to find velocities and angular velocities. So working with velocities makes sense.
Actually, so you start to think that okay, you can find it and you try to find it. Okay, so let's do it. Or what I do in hell, nice. Maybe not solving, I don't know.
so we need to find velocities of these points A, B, C, D, and T. And to find them, since we know the regulars are big and are small, we need to find angular velocity, so then we can find linear velocity that is tangential to the shaft. And since we know that this shaft rotates by some law, we can find its angular velocity, and since they are connected, angular velocity of this circle will be the same. And then we can determine velocities of these points.
So to sum up, after the so you understood that you can find some velocity accelerations of the point O, I mean the third body.
Yeah.
After this, you try to imagine the algorithm itself. What I mean.
Yeah.
Because now we try to say the algorithm. How do you think in terms of algorithm? So you just say what you need to do, but you think that you have output or input, so how? So, or you just, okay, this task and I'm trying to do something.
So I think I go from what I need to find, step by step, to what I have.
So from the, you're starting from the end and going to the
Yes,
beginning.
yes. So I see that I need to find velocity and I know radius. So we know the formula that V is omega r. We know radius, we need to find omega. To find velocity. To find omega, we need to find derivative of phi. Phi we know. So we can find omega.
Okay, so it's quite important to understand how others think and also understand how you are thinking when you are solving the task. Because when you have not probably the algorithm, but you understand how to move, you can extrapolate it on other tasks. Not just new task, what to do, and blah blah blah. In this case, you can. I try to give you intuition, at least my own intuition, how to think. And of course, we can look how other things and understand something for you, for yourself.
No omega.
Like it should be radian per second, I think.
Why do you draw that omega should be in this direction?
Because we know that phi is this direction.
And
It's like to us, like points to
Ah.
because actually the most interesting moment, it's my recommendation for you when you're solving task at home. Try to not solve the task itself, but put some extra questions for you. For instance, what happens if we always see this kind of tasks. What happens if I do like this? If it's rope, if it's not rope, what will mean?
If it's row, then the second block just doesn't move.
And in this case, what will be omega?
Zero.
And what also problem, bless you, that we need to divide our task on several subtasks. See guys, you can take even the very easy task and try to play with it. And using only this technique, you can become much more professional in any domain. Try to play with the tasks. Not just, okay, I solve, yeah, I will play games. It's nice, I like to play computer games, but also I try to increase my knowledge in some domain. So you have some task, try to think about it after the task. Actually, it really helps me in linear algebra when I started to explain to students. I also started to think, okay, if I change this, what's happened? If I change this, what's happened? Did you get my idea?
Yep.
Chitmanan, I understood. Okay. So you understood probably that it will be equal to 0. So in this case it won't be 0. Why? Because according to your picture I didn't get it. It's t and this, okay, I draw you in different manner and it won't work.
Yes, it won't work.
So so why? What the core, say, problems of it? Why it's won't work?
Why it works in this case?
Why it won't work in those cases and it will work in this case? How can we connect the one row and another row? Can we connect them using angular velocity?
No.
You're connecting them using linear velocity.
Yes.
So how?
You need to find the velocity of this point because it is connected.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, and it also they're in the same direction and in the same magnitude. Okay. I just saw that these circles with the same radius. And that's why they have the same angular velocity. Okay, in this case, you need to find the velocity of point E. That is by this formula. And you know the small radius, you know this formula. So we know this velocity. The velocity of in point M will be the same. And since we know this velocity, we can find angular velocity of this shaft. And we know angular velocity, we know radiuses, so we can find velocity in each point.
So, okay, you find VL. For now, you need to find other point. How can you do it? There are two possible ways, at least two possible ways. Stepan, what are possible ways to solve that when you know VL?
We can find Tamina.
What can you find?
On Mega.
Okay, we did it. After this.
Now we just go and find all of them.
How?
No, we have to find the point of zero with velocity.
Why? And where it will be?
It will be key.
It will be k.
Why?
As explained by our professor in the lecture.
And how many possible, how can you find this IK? Yes.
I just look at this picture and it feels weird because if we roll into this direction, this thing should roll into this direction, and it's gonna be at some point like it will move right at some point.
It will collide into each other, yes, but imagine the rope is like a kilometer long. You have some distance.
There is a common point between the shaft and the ground.
So you have this, it's connected to here, right? So initially it's like this, then I start to move like this, and then here we are, right?
No.
It will move like
It will move.
It will just roll.
Yes.
Wait. I move this way, so it gets shorter and shorter.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's gonna move down.
No,
No, it will-
in this way.
because you
Катушку
have
сегодня показывал
three in
профессор.
other direction.
Типа дергаешь, она...
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't do it, so. Okay.
Roller tool is fixed at point K, and you make
Oh,
a
it's fixed
force
at point K?
at point, yeah, it doesn't slide.
Okay.
And you apply a force at point L directed to the right. The only way it can do is make an angular move in clockwise direction.
Contour.
Actually,
Нет, условно.
Clockwise.
Вот, because
Нужно за право тянут.
they rotate
Не то есть
относительно
okay. The question is following. Okay, you say about IC, I mean, instantaneous flow.
Yeah.
So instantaneous center of velocity. Why it should be in K? What the? So you had, from if not mistaken, three cases. So what can you say this all cases?
So first case when our body is like rolling on the surface without slipping. So then it will be the center of zero velocity will be in the point of connection of the surface. So it's K.
Okay.
Like the second case when we like put vectors of velocities and perpendiculars to these vectors, and then we check the intersection point. Then it will be the point of instantaneous center of zero velocity. Then the third case when they do not intersect, when we have an infinity, and the fourth case, we have four cases when they are coincide.
Yeah.
So then we just put the line through the endpoints of vectors or velocities and check the intersection point.
Lisa, could you say it again? Do you remember this or?
I partially remember.
So
The first case is
are you trying to solve? Continue to solve.
the first case is when the object is rolling without sliding and the point of zero velocity would be.
Actually, we called it IC.
Oh,
I mean, just it's easier.
Oh.
Instantaneous center, yes. Because it have ICV and ICA. But ICA for losers, so don't forget about it. We won't use it.
Why?
Because for most of the tasks, it's, well, I'm too good for this.
So the point will be when the body is touching the surface. It's the second point. The second one I don't remember, and the third one is when the velocity. The second one is the velocities are parallel to each other. So the IC is in the infinite, and the third one when they collide, and you have to draw the perpendiculars to the velocities, get the lines, get those lines, intersect them, and the point of intersection will be the IC.
So, what's the problem?
I don't understand how this big circle will work. So this is K. So K is this part.
So, okay, according to the law, if you be in this case, this should be also in this case. Do you agree? We know that K velocity equal to what? Zero. Okay. So, in this case, do you need what we can know from this? So, you said that if we know linear velocity, we can find. Okay, we know angular velocity for both wheels.
Вот еще Москве.
We can find for both. Even though we can find for both. Agree? Why? Because we will have the same. We can work according to one and another. Well, these are okay. We find both only. So we have K, we have B. Can you find this B? Yes. What does it mean for? Can you write the general equation? What's the general equation? velocities.
Да, все движется направо. Да. Если направо, я просто вот это точно. Ну, то есть, она, если
I mean, could be fine. So we have
вот так
V
вот.
something, for instance, V,
Чтобы колесо
V.
подвинулось направо,
What
вот так
can be?
вот. Конечно.
No, I'm just saying in general. Вот это вот.
Нет. Колесо направо катится.
V,
Направо.
K,
Потому что ты тянешь его вправо.
plus, what?
Типа он должен раскручиваться интуитивно. Чисто, когда он должен пойти в ту сторону. Но типа там веревка даже оборачивает и подцепляет его. И поэтому ты вот по прицельной орбите.
В горизонтальном направлении вниз, если направо, соответственно, не может двигаться. Вообще никак.
Контринтуитивно, но...
It's called analytical formula.
Представьте, что у вас есть
V around K.
не направляющий
Around
сам.
okay.
И ты ее за это место тянешь вправо.
Она поедет вправо.
Представь,
что она здесь. Ты не накручиваешься на это.
How can we draw the V shape?
Ты тянешь его вправо. То же самое, что если ты потянешь
So,
эту точку вправо.
first of all, how to draw the V and how to find direction itself?
Если ты за шестеренку за верх тянешь вправо,
Парни, можете потише обсуждать? Okay, you said about omega or something, yes?
Yes.
So, can you find the distance between B and K?
Yes, I can.
And what is the name?
R.
Square root.
Кстати, если все время телефончик, здесь все реши и покажи мне.
I'm listening. Like,
I thought we had an agreement that you are not sitting and fall. You can either help or do something else. Or you can say it's boring and go outside. You agreed with the rules.
nothing really going on the board. So.
If you want, you can solve another stuff. Say, the board is stuff. So, we have with error. Why do we need control there? Why is that?
To find the error.
How? How the omega will position?
Yes, it's not this from us or report.
And how the
So, velocity actually on the plane.
it's perpendicular. So, but we need to understand what direction it will have. This direction or this direction? How we can understand it? In this case, we don't have VK because VK is 0. So, VB equals to VK. So, it should be perpendicular to our normal, I mean, to our distance. So, it's the reason why we have this line. But how we understood that it should be
Ищем в этом случае с колесами, который был на квизе ускорение. Мы почему не можем просто найти конечную скорость, взять ее производно и найти ускорение?
You know omega.
Была формула.
Because this
Вот эта формула.
line.
То есть
So,
это тоже считается.
what the rule?
Просто, ну, я просто так знаю.
Ты бы не посчитал, потому что
Ну, не что из этого.
But I don't
Вот эту штуку.
So now you know the answer and you know this one. So you need to understand how it should
О,
be.
нет, подожди, сейчас она
скорость отлично определить, но есть формула для названия потенциального ускорения.
Вот это что?
Could you explain it?
Это потенциал формула.
Do I need to go on the board?
Да,
Я ловлю по этим формулам.
Так, я
Когда у нас пара кончается?
Since we can't really use the center of the
I mean, how to find the
How to find
Yes, how to find direction y is like
how to
this.
find the direction?
Yes.
Well, we know at least one direction. One direction of velocity to point A, because it's the same as this velocity, and we know the instantaneous angular velocity of the whole object around k. We can find it by simply finding dv over r minus r. That is not there's not the angular velocity around c. That's the instantaneous angular velocity around k, which is called. And then we can use this angular velocity around k to find all the other velocities, as long as we know the distance. And the direction would be in the same direction as the edge. So the v would be going here.
So why? Because you use cross product. Can you explain? Because you didn't get. And why you choose that only should be in this direction, not in this direction?
This is
And you explain to him.
okay. So this omega is the angular velocity around k, the instantaneous center of velocity. So because it's either zero, the whole thing is rotating around k. Well, because we know this one velocity, it rotates in that direction around k. This velocity rotates this whole thing in that direction around k. That means all the other points are also rotating in that direction around k. K always changes, yes. So it like rolls like this. But in this instance, we have this angular velocity of the whole body around k, and we know the direction by knowing the direction of the edge. That's it.
Yeah. How can it move to the right if it rotates
Oh,
clockwise?
it rotates towards, like it rolls towards it.
Change the
How can it go to the right if it rotates counterclockwise and it cannot slide?
Clockwise.
It rotates clockwise.
Why is
Because
clockwise?
you see, we say that this is a point, like it doesn't slide, so this velocity is always zero. The velocity of connection of the whole roll valve to the ground is that velocity is always zero. It doesn't slide, like it doesn't slide around.
So you have double
That meaning
omega 2.
it's basically like imagine this is not pulling the stream towards it. It's some guy applying velocity to this point from this direction. Would you say it rolls over there? It's the same thing. It would be rolling over like this, because it pulls on. It doesn't matter where it pulls, because we know that it doesn't slide. That it said in the text that it's rolling without sliding over horizontal plane. So this velocity is zero. This velocity is this. We know that. So by extension, we know that it's going to be rolling like this around point K. And so it's kind of rolling like this.
It's only force acting on it to the right.
What is omega 2?
Omega 2 is it's the incorrect omega.
It doesn't start.
The incorrect
It doesn't
omega.
start.
Angular velocity v2. Is angular velocity v2 the angular velocity of the circle or around k? That's my question.
Actually,
I mean, they would be the same, but
yes, it's the same.
but they would be different if the radii would be different.
Of course, but we can put it in the, so omega is equal for each point of the body.
Yes.
But in our case, the point of rotation is not c as he mentioned, but is k. It's the reason why we have such direction, we have such, and in this case, for instance, a. What will be the linear velocity of a? The radius, the radius. Not the radius,
Direction.
Not on the direction if you can cheat from the table.
Omega r.
Omega r? Are you sure?
Or 2 omega.
So, need to understand.
Okay, so omega is actually the around K.
Yes, around K, yes. Linear A will be omega
R. And
R.
2.
2
Times 2.
like this. We have now
R4. R times 2.
You didn't get why see, again. So, how the... Андрей, вы поняли, почему VI равно омега to M?
Ну вот, да, сейчас объяснял.
Okay, so listen. Again, when we are rotating around this point, what does mean this equation? So, we have omega. So, we need to find cross product between omega in our case. So, this look in which direction? It's rotating this way and probably
To us.
yes. And cross product R between what and what? The point of rotation and point that you need to find. So R in our case will be what? If we want to find VA, it will be this guy. 2R. If we want to find 2B, it will be square root of 2, blah blah. If we find 2D, it will be this one. That's it. Even though it's integers, it's the reason why I didn't get this task, on previous class. Because in this case it's much easier to understand how to operate with it. Second problem is the direction itself. For using IC, we need to know at least 2 directions. If we know at least 2 directions, we can solve everything else. We know direction of omega. I think you agree with it. And we know actually R, because without we also cannot find it. Using this knowledge, we can find the direction. And we'll do this. How we can do it? The first is one finger, and the other finger, and your answer will be the third finger. And especially for you. Okay, like this. And when we are doing it, pam. Like this.
Which R do you choose?
No. Should be like this. So that's
Is it right hand rule or left hand rule for the...
Actually, Mularetov use other technique because I always
it's a normal speed and omega, that's a normal.
Правило Буравчика.
Буравчик.
What is the beginning of 0? So what direction is it?
Okay.
No, K. Velocity
Or
point K.
Point K.
Yeah, which is 0.
Yes,
so
0.
what
We
is
just not using it.
Wait,
So
that's
which is-
no, that's right hand rule.
Нормально?
So you don't.
Разве не должен? Типа один палец это самый нижний, это первый вектор, который мы берем, а потом указательный это второй вектор, который мы берем. Разве не так? Или наоборот?
От нас. Точно.
От нас идет.
Да.
Yeah.
You mean this one?
No. We mean
Omega.
the
Omega.
omega.
Yes, like this.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this, like this.
Omega is quite inside.
I guess omega radius. Wait, radius is there.
So we
What's going on?
So let's. Okay, I will remind her how to find this rule. I forgot actually. He used his own notation. Not notation, but I mean.
Вот так. Короче,
Нормально,
туда.
скорость. Она омега.
Омега — это вот радиус, а вот это вот скорость.
Вообще.
А вот так вот.
Okay.
Не, вот так сделать.
A,
Это
D,
например,
B.
это
Okay, guys, how to find it in a different manner? Can we not
скорость
using
в ту сторону.
can we using not the how to say? Can we solve it using not IC but other way?
But why? But why? Yeah.
Because for instance, you cannot use this equation if you want to solve if you code it. If you want to code it, you cannot use IC. Because IC gives you the solution only for one point.
Around velocity C. Around point C, yeah. Because every other point is velocity of every other point is velocity of C plus velocity of that point around C.
Мгм.
Actually, I can start to play with the A. So we know the A.
Yeah.
We can find omega. So in this case, I can write, for instance, VB will be with VL plus VBL.
That's painful.
Not painful at all, because in coding, no problem. Actually, in this case, you need to find somehow the cosine rule, sine rule, solve sum. Actually, yes, you are solving cosine. You need to find this angle, and you need to did it is on x. You need to put it on the basis where x is this and this is y, and solve this. Actually, I will show it another task because it's. Thank you. I put, of course, I have solution because actually it was it should be on previous lab. It was the first time from previous lab, but because we didn't have IC, is the reason why we have to do it. Okay, we have half an hour.
Вот,
like
20
4
минут,
minutes.
как казалось. 20 минут.
Okay, let's discuss about IC in this task, and after this I will solve. What do you think? Как вы тела слышите?
Сейчас.
Okay. You don't need to solve, you need just to explain where we should IC like it.
Perfect circle in function.
Что же будет?
Зависит от скорости.
Ну, почему? Перпендикуляр совпадает.
А там тебе, смотри, если у тебя... Разве не то же самое, что... Нет, скорость разная. Скорость. Тогда он будет проскальзывать. Он не будет проскальзывать. Почему?
Нет, сам подшипник. Мы не будем. Yes, you need to find IC and explain why it's there.
Without preparation?
You need to take a point. Take a point and say why it's there. Что, парни, вы нашли IC?
Оно же будет проскальзывать.
Оно не будет.
Вы нашли IC или вы еще повторяете?
Ну, мне непонятно, почему скорости разные.
Почему? Ты понимаешь, почему там?
Ну, вот, почему скорости разные, оно как бы проскальзывать будет?
У тебя центр колеса не зафиксирован нигде.
Да.
So,
where is the center?
Center maybe.
Что прижимается.
Okay.
Там же
So guys, pay attention. He will explain why. First of all, okay, if I were you, at least most of the students from previous batch took, okay, we have 0, 0, 0 here. We have two continuous centers. Why is
Okay.
it correct?
If you remember the lecture, first we need to write
Перпендикуляр.
trajectory of the moon. So the next step is find the intersection of the perpendicular to this projection. If the projection are parallel, we have two cases. The IC is infinity, or we need to use this technique just to connect end of these vectors, so the line of intersection will be IC.
Wait. I don't understand. Like we have different
Okay.
velocities, but we have same angular velocity, right?
Yes. Yes.
And same radius. Both.
Mhm.
So angular velocity and same radius. So same velocities.
It has both.
No.
Angular
The
velocity.
angular velocity is
Angular
around the
velocity.
AC, not C. The angular velocity is around IC, and there the radius is different.
Again, you are thinking, yes, in common situation, our common life, we used to think that the center of the disk should be also the center of rotation. Short is 2, let me say like this. So it shouldn't be there, and according to this point, yes, it will be the same. Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, if I imagine the top one is super slow and the bottom one is super fast. So the top one barely moves and the top one is really crazy.
Yes.
So
It's rolled to the left.
It will go. It's almost like it's rolling to the left.
like how can it happen without slipping through
It just means that the speed of the points of intersections are equal to the speed equal to the velocity of
Вот, я хотел, вот, я просто точку нарисовал,
Окей.
чтобы было понятно. Ну, то же самое делаем по факту.
Okay, so
Так мы зацепили. Вот так.
Оно еще не смещается.
You need to find velocity.
Окей, так она не
but they went the same distance at the same time, right?
In general,
They went the same distance for the same time.
But it's okay. We need to have 2 hands because in this case you will try to do it in. in okay, nobody see.
Оно все равно проскальзывает там.
Yeah, because of yes, да, есть это, как его проскальзывает. So try to make an experiment. Actually, if you didn't get, of course, it's also one of the problem of physics that if you can, it's benefit of the physics. If you cannot understand, just to try to make an experiment. Actually, this can be done at home. If you do it to understand it, could you make a video?
I'll try, yeah.
Okay, so guys, he will try to make a video of how he. So
You'll try to understand.
Yes, because actually it should help us to understand when you can make an experiment. So, okay, according to physics, yes, it's right. After this, we are solving task and no problem.
Нужно найти поверхность бесконечно.
just take a pen and use your bow pen.
И все.
That's really
Ты тебя беспожаешь. Okay. So the last but not the least. So a tip again, yes, is from the slide that because of this shit and solution. So if you want to solve at home, there is a solution. Actually, it was from your today's quiz. I mean, from previous batch. So expect I will spend about 1 hour for preparation to your class, and I have to make new tasks, change quizzes, and so on. So, lucky.
you have a circle rolling over inside.
So guys, now we have a new formal criteria. When we are talking about task, we need to understand what's going on the picture, because it might help you to understand, can we use IC or not, can we use other approaches, and blah blah. So firstly, we need to write. So we draw this guy.
Is A the center of the small circle?
So, so first of all, I'd like to show you how to think, because now I try to explain my thinking, and also what we need to do. Firstly, in our tasks, we need. Okay, I'm excluding a picture and my first algorithm. Actually, you can read it in in solutions, which I provide in the next slide. You need to understand how this mechanism works. Without that, you cannot solve the task. I hope it's obvious. After this, so in this case, how can I do it with it? I look and I need to understand, by the way, how many possible motions we have right now.
4. Right now?
So, yes,
Yes, 4.
it's
Translator.
translator motion, rotation, and
Plane.
Planar
motion.
and spherical.
Spherical we will have on next class.
But we had today.
I mean,
Мы опаздываем на одну главу?
yes.
Okay.
So, we have 3 links there. I hope you agree. So, first link, second link, and third link. Can we say what they are doing? Okay, what does do the first link? I mean, okay, 0 link. It would be 0 link.
It's stationary.
No. As you may see, we have OA, and it shows that we have angular velocity.
It's rotation.
What are the things?
It's rotating the second circle.
Yes, you're right. It's rotation. Rod. Second link.
Planar.
I mean, first link.
Planar motion.
Plane motion.
Yes, I mean,
Why?
Because it's moving
it's
and
moving and
rotating.
rotating.
Do you understand why it's moving? What does it, again, who can explain the, except to both of you, the plane motion? Could you say that definition of plane motion? I mean, okay, not plane motion is combination of rotation motion and translator motion. What does it mean, translator motion?
Like position of X and Y.
Is it translator motion?
Yes.
This is translator motion?
Yes.
Why?
Because we did not rotate the actual object.
So we didn't change orientation, we did not change orientation.
So
Is the reason why it's translator because yes, it's circular and also it rotates. You should understand it clearly, otherwise you will have a lot of problems. Not with me. Проблема классно. And the second one.
Rotation.
Rotation.
Right. So now you need to, when you solve this kind of task, you need to write this one. After this method. In our case, because I'm explaining to you, I will use both cases, analytical and IC. But in your tasks, you need to write. Because, again, I'd like to know that I'm trying to solve the task. I'd like to see that you understand what you are doing. Not just I'm trying to solve. You are trying to think. You understand what you need to do. So I'm choosing the method. In my case, so when it can be useful for us to use analytical, and when can I use IC? Analytical way can be useful for us. It's more complicated, as you may see, because we need each vector divided on x and y axis, but we can easily code it because we can easily transform it, and it can be solved for whole, mechanism for all time, because we have theta, and we can solve it for each theta. When we have, let's say, when we're using IC, we are solving it for one particular point.
Yeah. Like I think if it is easy to find this IC in terms of our system, it will be beneficial to use it. This way.
When you need when you are when you should find either only one point or it can easily find by you can easily find IC, use IC.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to solve it using IC, for instance, I'm dummy and I cannot find this IC point. For instance, on previous task, this one. You can, yes, you will spend more time, but you can solve it without IC.
Determine the task. Determine the position of.
I mean, ох уж эти зануды. Typical nerds. Okay. So method both in our case. Душнило. I'm терпил душнило. Okay. So after this, yes, start to write the equation for actuator. Why? Because actually we know we used to know all positions and all diameters, radius and so on. We know probably the dimensions of our mechanism, usually. In this case, of course, we know all R and we know first omega. Because we usually try to control something and we know how we want to control it somehow when we know this. Again, yes, as you mentioned before, if you know theta of t, you can find two derivatives to find everything else. If we have just omega in our case, okay, we have omega. Also, I think we need to write, again, some hints about equations. So, B something, for instance, BB can be BA plus B round A. About accelerations. Acceleration B will be AA plus A or B A tangent plus A B R normal. Why do we need to do like this? Because actually we can find direction for these two guys. We should know, most of the time we should know this guy. We know already. And direction and let's say magnitude. For these guys we can find something. So it will be VA. In color case, we just write it like this. Again, cross product because you can find not only magnitude but direction. Okay. So now we have equations. Okay. By the way, how I'm thinking? I see this task. Okay, I see not only draws, accelerations, and this. Okay, how I think? Let's assume that I see that we have all dimensions. I just didn't put it there because it was on quiz, and on quiz you just need to write directions. You should write. You would write. Okay, so I think, okay, first of all, I'm writing this stuff. If I need to draw, I need to operate in this case using vectors mainly, because vectors give me directions. And also I need to know these equations, and usually I am writing near somewhere because I already know that we have, let's say, correlation between linear and angular, and we can play with each other. So if we don't know something in one side, we can just go try to find something that helps us to another side. Now about algorithm itself. I usually start from actuator and go next positions. We know that the point A just rotates because we know that it's rotatory. In this case, we can find everything else easily. So we can find VA. It will be omega or A multiplied A whatever. How I put it there? A or A. Okay. Now we need to when we are using IC, we are applying it on the mechanism itself or a link.
A link.
Why?
Because it's only for a single object, for a single rigid body.
Guys, did you get it? Why it's important? So remember, because for instance, you cannot use it IC in 3D space, if I'm not mistaken. If you have some 3D space equations. Okay, after this I need to think, when I ask about algorithm, I need to think about what I have in input and output. So I want to, what the easiest, what can I find there? Actually, the easiest way for me to find is, again, I need to, the easiest way to find is D, actually, at this point. Because when looking at it, I understood that, firstly, I know that it's IC point between
For
second body and first body.
yes.
Does it have a velocity? Doesn't it have a velocity because the second object rotates? Yeah.
Relative to the second line.
We'll do this one. OG is. Now we talked about the second phase. Rotary motion. Second. Да, есть, correct.
We can find the IC now.
Yes, we can. And IC will be
On ID.
on there. 20. Why? Because we know
VA and VD.
Yes. Now we know VD and VA, and we can find this one. How can it be done? AK plus KD equal to R small. And second, please. In this case, we have two equations, two variables. These variables say k and kd because we don't know it. I mean, because we want to find k. So in this case, two equations, two variables, and we solve it. It seems that you lose the track. Understand? We don't have such thing.
VA divided by VD.
Это VA сверху? Там вроде VB написано.
Okay, guys. Let's. So there is a solution. There are 3 pages. So no, don't worry because I told you I solve it for accelerations. I solve it analytically and solve it, let's say, using IC. Till Thursday, you have to read it and ask questions if you didn't get something. Because unfortunately, we didn't have time. But did you open previous task? Some of you. I mean, different solutions. Which I in the end.
No.
So in this case, it will be your problem. You can open it because I wrote tips, hints, and so on. It's not just the solution itself. And I use different colors to highlight the answers and so on. So it's your goal after this. It will be helpful for you. Try to read about the Thor group. I put the link. And understand how to use kinematics. Actually, now we work only with one mechanism. Actually, not a big problem. But if you want to solve such kind of mechanism, it will be not so easy. Using a Thor group, you can solve it easily. It's actually you can do it without it, but understanding what is it, you also can solve it. In Russian, much more information than in English, but I found in Wikipedia that it has English. I mean, you can find it in English. Actually, it's just this one. Actually, using this stuff, you can divide this mechanism into smaller mechanisms and solve this task. So actually, according to Azure group, I can solve this task and this task. Yes, and after this, just combine two solutions, and I will receive the right answer. It's Azure group above.
So we have another homework.
It's not a homework actually. It's you don't need to do anything by your hand there. You just need to read. And
Okay.
unfortunately, because we spent much more time than I expected on the first task, but I hope you understood at least how it rotates, something about how to find directions, because it's much more important than this one. Actually, it's just, how to say, more advanced than previous one. Without the basics, you cannot solve this task. Because in this case, we have just only, what do we have there? So it's what type of motion?
Rotation.
This one.
Planar.
Plane.
Yes. In this case, we just have 3 of them. We just increase our let's say, complexity of the task. That's it. I mean, this one.
That one is like the ground moves too.
We are not in the ground, okay. So, read this, try to do it by your hand. I mean, follow my solution, try to solve by your hand. Actually, I think you spend about 1 hour for this. And let's meet on Thursday. By the way, do you have any problem with home task for trying to solve it? You didn't try to solve it.
Second time.
Okay. With GeoGebra?